Alright guys, so we got to talk about the Democrats. Boo-hoo, whining and crying. Transphobia, bigotry, hate, right, over a based county executive out in Long Island who has decided to use some common sense to protect women's sports, okay? He is banning male athletes from being able to compete in women's sports, aka banning trans women, or so-called trans women.
JLP? Is that you? Or is that your distant cousin that's also fallen into the sunken place? But I digress. You're about to see a grown-ass man off another grown-ass man over trans women being banned from playing competitive sports in a county-led facility in Long Island, New York. And these grown-ass men are loving this shit. Just a fair warning, you're about to experience transphobia on another level. You're probably unaware, and it's okay, a lot of people are, but this week, particularly this Friday, is International Women's Day. So I figured, why not address the transphobia coming out of Long Island, New York? I found, from what I can only assume to be Jesse Lee Peterson's long-lost cousin, a right-wing YouTuber that's never been mentioned to me by any of my community members, nor have I ever heard of this dude. Plus, I don't think any of my community members would ever watch this guy. So not knowing who he was, naturally, I've dug into Greg a little bit. And come to find out, well, you know what? I'll just let the dude introduce himself to you.
I mean, it's funny because they say that if you don't agree with, liberals and you're black or whatever, you're a white supremacist or you're a black white supremacist.
Yeah.
And I mean, I guess I'm happy to be a white supremacist. I'm also happy to be homophobic. I'm happy to be transphobic. I'm happy to be all those things.
Oh yeah. That's who we're dealing with, my friends. His video starts off with a news piece from CBS News New York addressing the transphobic situation. Here's a snippet from that.
As you mentioned, the county executive, Bruce Blakeman, is calling this ban here essentially biologically fair to women. On the other hand, critics are calling this move transphobic and illegal.
Yeah, because that's exactly what it is. Transphobia and illegal. It's basically on human rights. Regardless of who the individual is, this should be illegal to even think about, let alone go forward with it.
Alright guys, so we got to talk about the Democrats. Boo-hoo, whining and crying. Transphobia, bigotry, hate, right, over a based county executive out in Long Island who has decided to use some common sense to protect women's sports, okay? He is banning male athletes from being able to compete in women's sports, aka banning trans women or so-called trans women.
I know it's hard for nonsensical, irrational, illogical people to comprehend this, but trans women are women. They're changing their bodies medically to become the person that they're supposed to be. They're taking medication that's changing their physical appearance internally and externally, making them the sex that they want to become and the sex that they should be.
With that being said, we have to talk about this story out in Nassau County.
Please, dude, don't be a lazy YouTuber. Do your research before you talk about shit. It's Nassau County, not Nassau.
In which, again, this executive, Bruce Blakeman, who is a Republican.
Oh, he's a Republican? You don't say. How could I have thought it was anybody else but a Republican?
Using common sense and issuing this ban. And the Democrats are boohoo, whining, and crying about it. But I want you guys to listen to this guy's reasoning, right? I want you guys to listen to what he's saying. Because what he's saying here is nothing but common sense. And I think is very reasonable to reasonable people. However, nowadays in 2024, Democrats are far left. They're not reasonable because I don't understand how anybody can disagree with what this man is saying.
I don't know how reasonable you are highlighting a story like this, being on the opposition. See, I can proudly say that I'm actually part of a group that are reasonable. So I can't wait to hear what reasonable sounds like to Gregory here.
Biological males, whether they identify themselves as transgender or not, have sports outlets here in Nassau County where they can compete, and we encourage them to compete.
Yo, pause this Yo! Why is this come off very Jim Crow laws? And a black man is pushing this kind of narrative? Oh, this is about to get deep.
There are 3 categories in Nassau County for sports, leagues, and teams that use our facilities, our parks, our beaches, our ball fields. tennis courts, basketball courts, hockey fields, soccer fields, and basically there are three categories. There are men's and boys leagues, there are women's and girls leagues, and there are co-ed leagues. And what we are saying here today with our executive order is that if a league or team identifies themselves or advertises themselves to be a girls' or women's league or team, then biological males should not be competing in those leagues. They can compete.
But sir, you're not comprehending the fact that trans women are women. They're medically changing their bodies. I've already told you this. They're changing their testosterone to estrogen. Literally. They're replacing one with the other, which is literally changing them physically. They're becoming women. This is why I believe if you want to be in politics and make laws on these aspects, you need to have a science degree and understand how human anatomy works. Because if you don't know about biology and human science, you wouldn't be making such bigoted laws. If you knew science and human anatomy, you wouldn't be embracing such vileness. Same thing goes for abortion. If you do not understand the science and the healthcare behind that, you do not need to be making laws in this country.
They can compete if they like in an all boys or all males league or a co-ed league.
Okay, yeah. So this is important, right? The reason why it's important that he's laying it out like this is because the woke revolutionaries are going to come back and say, oh, well, you're banning trans athletes from sports, right? This is what they say.
Yeah, because logical people will say that, because that's exactly what this is. It's banning trans people from competing in sports. Just because you and apparently some people in Long Island don't get the science behind it. That's how he was able to even achieve this bigotry.
Reflexively in response, okay? But they can't say that in response to this because he's saying, look, you got two options, okay? You can compete with your biological sex, or you can compete in the co-ed leagues, okay? So the leagues that allow boys and girls to compete against each other, fine, go compete in that league. But what you can't do is to compete in a league that is for the opposite sex solely, right?
Trans women are the opposite sex. They are women. It doesn't matter if you're born a man. If you feel like a woman inside and that's what you want to be, then it's your right and you should be that. See, the issue is right-wingers like Gregory don't think that's enough proof showing that you're a woman. He'll probably respond with something like, well, if you're a woman, then I'm an Apache helicopter. I've heard transphobes say that personally to me. They're comparing inanimate objects to real human feelings, and if you don't have empathy, which most of these right-wing conservatives have zero empathy, they don't even know what empathy means. They don't know how to address this kind of situation without bigotry being intertwined in their narrative.
Now, again, this is reasonable, okay? This is where the middle ground is on this issue. It's not like they only have male only or female only, and that's it, and they don't have a third option. No, in this case, they have a third option. Co-ed. Go compete using the third option or compete based off your biological sex. That's it. You have two options. So there is no ban on trans athletes being able to compete in sports. However, no, you cannot compete with the opposite sex if the league is only for the opposite sex, right? It's really that simple.
Dude, it is so cringy watching people defend this, but watching marginalized people defend bigotry and hatred is even more staggering.
So this is not precluding anybody from participating in sports. What it is, it's identifying that there are women and girls who spend a tremendous amount of time and effort to excel and compete in their sports that are women's sports. Whether it's the WNBA, whether it's college, whether it's high school, whether it's just a community league. And it is an unfair advantage for someone who is a biological male to compete against a biological female.
Facts.
No one is discounting that, man. It's just the fact that you're banning actual women. Banning women from competing in sports with other women. That's what you're not understanding here. And to be frank, I don't think this law will hold. There's just too many Democrats in New York. This will get nullified as soon as they get a chance.
I don't understand why is that so hard for people to grasp in 2024, right? It's just unfair. We've seen it. I don't know how many stories I've done to this channel, at least 20. at least 20 stories over the last few years, probably more than that, where we see the obvious biological differences between men and women. Okay, whether that be stories that don't involve trans athletes or stories that do involve trans athletes, right? There is a difference. And we see that trans athletes do in fact have advantages over their biological female competitors. They do. They do.
You seriously could not be more wrong here, dude. I thought you were a professional YouTuber. How did you not do your research? Bro, took me 15 seconds to find a sourced article coming out of ACLU, American Civil Liberties Union, with 4 myths about trans athletes being debunked. Let some doctors educate you on human biology, Gregory. Listen, trans athletes vary in athletic ability just like cisgender athletes. One high jumper could be taller and have longer legs than another, but the other could have perfect form and then do better. A person's genetic makeup and internal and external reproductive anatomy are not useful indicators of athletic performance, according to Dr. Joshua D. Safer. There is no inherent reason why her physiological characteristics related to athletic performance should be treated differently from the physiological characteristics of a non-transgender woman. And that's from a decorated doctor. Yeah, I know, conservatives. The truth hurts. Science will checkmate you motherfuckers every single time.
And it's about time that you have a local government, somebody stand up and to tell the truth and say, hey, this is not fair, so therefore we're going to intervene and issue an executive order in order to stop this. And Democrats can be mad about this because, quite frankly, they hate women, right? They don't really like women. So again, this is what they do, okay? They boohoo, whine, and cry about common sense.
Are you actually serious when you say that? Democrats hate women? Oh, okay. This is officially a parody. Choking to death from your nonsensical bullshit. The Black Conservative Perspective has officially become a parody channel. I don't believe a word this motherfucker says. The right likes to call my channel a parody channel because when they watch some shit like this, when the truth starts coming out, they can't comprehend that. They don't know how to process facts. But then they go and watch something like Gregory here and think that it's legit, like it's factual. Let me tell you an actual fact. Trans women are women, and there's nothing you can do about that. And no law will ever dispute that. Having said that, happy International Women's Day, my friends. Leave your thoughts in the comment section below, and I'll see you there. But if you need more of my series, Republicans Say the Darndest Things, check out my next video right here. Support the channel on Patreon if you can, my friends. I will leave those links right here and in the description below. I hope to see you there. And don't forget to subscribe for weekly leftist videos. Hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything. And I am